Hi, this is Siddhi, and this video is the second part of the engagement, how to engage your child video that I posted, that I posted today. Okay, we are. So if you saw my play video last time, I talked about how children play and engage with toys, and then I talked about some children, a portion of children who don't really play and who sensory play and cause and effect play actually does not go anywhere. It stays repetitive as a pattern. So I talked about how those children you can move them towards hobbies, correct? So today we are going to look at those children. We are going to talk about how can we engage with those children. All right. So it would be a good idea for you to read the Substack article on this while you're watching the video, because that will give you a better context when you're watching the video. All right. So 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 here you have, so this is the kind of child you would have who essentially, if you give him any sort of play, sensory play or otherwise, he would prefer to do the same repetitive stuff with him and he would not want you to interfere at all. These are the children who like educational toys most of the time and they don't like you to interfere. They want to begin and end in the exact same manner. If you give them sensory toys, they typically tend to get overloaded and they don't actually enjoy the sensory toys as much. Okay, so what do we do with these children? So like I said, these are basically children who don't like irregular activities. So most of the sensory toys are basically irregular activities. They are activities where you get irregular stimulation in, not calming stimulation in. Okay. So this population that we will talk about today in this video are the kinds who get dysregulated very fast. So they prefer calm and they don't like irregular at all. Okay, now that doesn't mean that we don't want them to get used to irregular to a certain degree, but we have to start somewhere, right? We can't jump directly to the playing games bit with them. So how do you start with them? So the first thing what you want to do is you want to start with toleration of proximity, same like we talked about in the first video. But how does it change over here? Here, what you start doing is basically you don't allow the child an alone time. You keep the child with you 24/7. With you or with somebody, some adult. You do not allow the child alone time. Okay. And you keep the child either engaged in the manner where he is probably, if I'm working, he sits next to me and, plays with his toys in the same room. Or if I am doing things like putting vessels, washing clothes, putting clothes in the washing machine, drying clothes, cutting vegetables, sorry, not cutting vegetables, cleaning vegetables, I would engage my child in it. Okay. So basically, I would keep the child with me constantly, but the activities that I'm doing are all patterned. So the child is there with me. Like if I'm cooking and I keep the child slightly away, but he can see me in that position. I can do commenting. I can talk about what I'm doing. So I'm keeping myself in the child's world and I'm working on toleration of proximity. All right. Then once I start doing that, I will start noticing my child will start showing interest in the things, in some of the things. Like, say, maybe he'll start showing interest in, he would be more willing to fold clothes. Maybe he'll be more willing to take off dry clothes. He'll be more willing to put vessels. Okay, so in that way, I would start getting parallel play coming in where he's also doing something and I'm also doing something. And I would get a joint interest that would start coming in. Okay, and that gives me an insight into what are the kind of things that the child likes. Like some children like cooking. Okay, so that's how I get the idea that, okay, maybe he likes cooking. Some children, maybe I put music for the child and I both of us sit in and listen to music, and maybe I realize that yes, my child really loves it when I do that part. So music becomes something that is of that I identify as something of interest. Okay, so I basically, through this, I will be able to identify, just like I did with toys, I will be able to identify what is it my child likes. Does he like music? Does he like painting? And here it's very important that in the first stage, you are the one who keeps on bringing in different things so that the child gets exposed to it. Okay, so that's why here I always tell parents that both the parents should do their own thing with the child, because if the mother does five things and the father does five things, in totality the child gets 10 options. All right. And then we can figure out what does he want to pick from there. But if the father also tries to do the same thing as mother, then the child only gets 5 options, which is what you don't want. Okay. Also, the approaches are different, and the approaches also are also important. So when you are doing this sort of variation in activities with the child, you will expose the child with different interests, and the child, you can then identify what is it that you should be taking ahead. Okay. Once you have identified the interest, then your next stage would be creating time to either do that together or learning together. So say for example, if it's something like a musical instrument, both of you like music a lot. Okay, maybe both of you can go and learn a musical instrument together. Okay, so that becomes a joint activity where both of you are engaging. Again, over there also, if you realize, you will see that the child will start imitating you. He will accept the new tones that you're presenting. He will accept the new tunes that you're talking about. Okay, and his attention will be voluntary, his imitation will be voluntary, and he'll start enjoying that engagement that you're showing with him. Okay, then that creates opportunities to, like we talked about, create variations and to think. Okay, let's say for example, if I have my child and me, both of us love computer. Okay, say for example, all right, and both of us decide to learn scratch program. So we both we can, both of us, sit and learn the scratch program together. We can attempt watch videos and try that thing on our programs. We can do our own programming and show it to each other. So if you see, the child is actually engaging, but with a baseline structure format that is there. Okay, so in that way, the aims that we had in engagement, where the child tolerates proximity, communicates with you, engages with you, watches you, learns from you, communicate stays wants to stay in proximity with you, will still come. It's just that what you're playing with is not a toy. It is an activity that you probably do together. Like maybe like let's take for example something like, say for example, cooking. Some children like cooking, so the child would give so one of my boys has this thing that he loves cooking more than anything, from what I've seen. So when we started initially with cooking, it seemed like it was not the best thing to do with him, because the impression was he's still small, why are we doing cooking? But the truth is that the cooking is one activity where he would tolerate the mother's proximity faster. He would attend to what the mother was doing, imitate what the mother was doing, and allow variations and learn new things by himself. Okay, and learn new things from other people. So if there's another child cooking, he will watch and learn by himself. We don't have to force him. But the same child, if I try to get him to teach a toy, I have to force him. So if you see, you can get the same engagement that you want in this format too. And this format, then if the child enjoys it, then you will you may not still have that excitement and the hyperactivity that you have with the children who enjoy the hyper type of engagement, irregular stimuli wala engagement, but you would still have a nice quiet type of engagement, which is also a type of engagement, isn't it? So this is the second variation of engagement that you can do with your autistic children.